Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ABA Civil Rights and Social Justice Section's Chair Chat. My name is Robin Runge, and for just a few more days here, I am fortunate to serve as the chair of the Civil Rights and Social Justice Section. And I am particularly thrilled for today's chat because I have with us the newly elected bar president for the American Bar Association, Bill Bay, and we have this unbelievable opportunity to learn about Bill and to most importantly hear about his plans for the year and how we can support him. So I'm going to start. So thank you so much, Bill, for being with us. And I'm going to start by sharing a little bit of a background about Bill, and then we'll get into our conversation. Bill is a partner with the St. Louis office of the national firm Thompson Coburn, and he's president of the American Bar Association. As I said, it just happened in Chicago at our annual meeting. He is a longtime leader in the American Bar Association. He co-chaired the Practice Forward initiative, which addressed member concerns regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and the future of the profession. He also served as chair of the House of Delegates from 2018 to 2020. And from 2012 to 2013, he chaired the section of litigation. He also chaired the ABA Day Planning Committee from 2021 to 2022. He is a fellow in the American Bar Foundation, and he served on the ABA Board of Governors and chaired its Finance Committee from 2015 to 2016. And then for more than 20 years, he's been a member of the ABA House of Delegates. His leadership has extended to other ABA entities, including the Standing Committee on Bar Activities and Services, the Commission on Racial and Ethnic Diversity in the Profession, the Commission on Governance, Legal Opportunity Scholarship Fundraising Committee, the Death Penalty Representation Project, and the Young Lawyers Division. He is also active in several local and state bar associations. He is past president of the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis and a past member of the Missouri Bar Board of Governors, where he chaired several committees. He is a fellow of the Missouri Bar Foundation. He also has been selected to co-chair several statewide commissions focused on increasing access and opportunities for women attorneys, achieving equal access to justice for litigants, regardless of their race or ethnicity, and exploring the future of the legal profession in Missouri. He currently co-chairs the Supreme Court of Missouri's Commission on Racial and Ethnic Fairness. He also is a highly experienced litigator who's represented major corporations in high-stakes litigation for more than 30 years. And his clients have varied from major financial institutions to manufacturers to post-secondary institutions, and he regularly helps organizations manage and respond to large portfolios of litigation in multiple jurisdictions. He is also importantly a member of the American Law Institute, the leading independent organization in the United States that produces scholarly work to clarify, modernize, and improve the law. In recent years, he's been honored with the Spurgeon Smithson Award, a top honor given by the Missouri Bar, the Distinguished Lawyer Award, and the highest honor awarded by the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis, an Excellence in Law Award from St. Louis Magazine, and Missouri Lawyer Weekly's Influential Lawyer Award. He appeared in the Best Lawyers in America. He has appeared in the Best Lawyers in America since 2012 and has been recognized by Best Lawyers multiple times as the St. Louis Lawyer of the Year for litigation, banking, and finance. And I just want to say on a personal note that I'm thrilled to be talking with Bill because I am a fellow, well, I claim St. Louis is my home, but for those who know the area, I'm really from across the river. I'm from Collinsville, but I went to grade school and high school in St. Louis. And so personally, I'm thrilled to have another St. Louisan be the president of the Bar Association. And I just want to thank you, Bill, before we get started, for all of your tremendous service. Reading that, it's just, again, as someone from that, you're in my community, right? We've talked about this. My mother lives in the house I grew up in, right? My friends and my family are all in St. Louis. They are benefiting from all the work you've done, right? Leading the Bar Association in St. Louis, leading the Bar Association in Missouri, and now the American Bar Association. So I just want to thank you for your service all these years and for your service this year.
Thank you very much. I'm actually looking out on Illinois right from my window. I can't see as far as Collinsville, but I can see over there.
Well, and it's just great to have you. And we learned a little bit from this introduction about your past history, but I'd just really love to hear more about your work and how it led to your decision to run for, right, and become president of the American Bar Association. How those different roles that you played that are so critical really connect to your decision to take on this important leadership role.
Yeah, I probably was a reluctant convert to the ABA. You know, when I was younger, I was busy practicing law, was spending time with the family, had kids. There wasn't really much time for anything else, to be honest. And so, interesting enough, my father, who was not a lawyer, but was active in his professional organization as an engineer, he was a civil engineer, and he became president of the American Society of Civil Engineers. And I remember going to a time when he was made the president, and he kept telling me, hey, you know, you got to get involved in your professional organization that sets standards, that takes the lead on issues that matter to engineers. And he said, talked about the perspective of being in a national organization and emphasizing the things that lasted were relationships. Yeah. And be honest with you, I wasn't convinced. Okay. And so I got active in our young lawyers group in St. Louis Bar. And one of the jobs was to go to one of these ABA meetings. And I'd really dodged it for a whole year. I thought, crap, you know, I'm not going. I can't do this. I got too many things going on. And then I finally went without knowing what to expect. But I came back with a job, and one that required, you know, really big effort on my part. And I got a glimpse, it was a public service conference. So I got a glimpse at the difference that new lawyers were making through a myriad of public service projects around the country. I mean, it turned out my father was right, okay, about this. And, but so much of what I learned, I think, in Young Lawyers Division really shaped who I am and how I approach work in our association, which is, you know, hard work really matters. I came to view that the work we do in the bar is like client work. They both deserve our best efforts. They're both important. And so I was really inspired by what other people were doing around the country. I learned a lot from listening and what a group could accomplish by working together. YLD leadership was open to new ideas and new ways of doing things. I mean, it was something new all the time. And so I liked it. There was energy, it was new voices. And so that's, you know, I kind of got the bug there. I got involved in bar leadership with the Bar Leadership Institute, where you really interact with every bar association, state, local, special focus, affinity bars. I mean, we end up doing something that helps train lawyers to be great leaders, not in the ABA, everywhere. And so, you know, it was the same. I loved working with staff. I really learned about, you know, what it was like to work with staff as partners. And people were passionate about leadership. And, you know, I think one of the most critical items, if you want to lead our ABA, is spending time with local and state bars and special affinity bars. What are they doing? What are the challenges they're facing? So I don't know. I'm going on, and I don't mean to, but it was these are great things in litigation. You know, I really learned about teamwork. You know, you can't do it all yourself. You got to have a team. We did a lot with expanding meetings. We went to places where lawyers were. Created a lot of new benefits. You know, we focus, what can lawyers get from us every week, every month, what they can use. And so, you know, and part of that was listening. Part of this, I laugh and say, I learned a lot from sitting on the back row with people that, you know, that sometimes they would tell you candidly what works and what needs to be done, as opposed to the people that were in charge. And so I think that really, had a big difference. And then when you mentioned Practice Forward, I was there with Laura Farber. We co-chaired that. That was during the pandemic. I mean,
such critical work.
Yeah, I mean, we learned a lot. We thought we knew what people needed, and we found out, no, we ought to listen to them and listen to what they need. And so it really changed our perspective about, instead of looking at what we thought they needed, we decided to listen and then bring together things that they wanted. And it was different than we thought. And so I think part of that is leading, is just listening. I mean, sometimes I think I have lots of great ideas and answers, but I also know that I don't have all the answers. I got to listen. I mean, I don't mind presenting a vision and seeing where I think we need to be. But, you know, sometimes the best idea is sitting out in left field, so to speak. And you say, oh my gosh, this really works. So that's kind of the long and short of the journey.
Well,
Uh,
I love hearing that. And I think a lot of people, Bill, will relate to that, right? And I think it's so wonderful to hear about how, first of all, that your dad was right. But second, how this has led to you finding a community and a family that has enriched your life professionally and personally. And one thing I really took away from the introduction that I gave you is you have had a long-standing commitment to racial and ethnic justice and ensuring fairness and equity in the bar and in the legal system. You are co-chairing that critically important Supreme Court commission in Missouri, and you've played that role in the ABA. And I just want to lift that up since, our audience is a part of, or hopefully will become a part of, the Civil Rights and Social Justice section. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about that work that you've done, and how that's been important to you.
Sure. I mean, it was our commission. There's basically 35 states now that have commissions like this, but there's a bunch that don't yet. Missouri's was created right after the Ferguson events, right in the wake of Ferguson. The Supreme Court took a leadership role and said, hey, we've got to have a racial and ethnic fairness commission. Okay. And that's what it was. And that's how the National Center for State Courts talks about it. That they talk about what's racial and ethnic fairness. And each year they have a coalition, all these groups meet. And so we were coming in at a really, really tough time. Believe me, it wasn't easy. And so one of the things we made a lot of quick changes. I mean, we talked about there had to be cultural training as part of the CLE requirements. There had to be more DEI emphasis in the hours. We upped those hours so that people did both the cultural competency and DEI. We asked for voluntary disclosures. We want to know where we were at. I mean, surprisingly enough, we weren't charting where, what's our racial and ethnic components. And so we started to do that. But then the really important work we began 2 or 3 years ago was taking a look at our criminal justice system. And we looked at sentencing outcomes. And so we did an 11-year study of all the sentencing that happens with criminal justice. And we did that with a university, Missouri State University. And it's the results are what you think. I mean, it shows that there's real inequities and real essential. The data shows it's not a fair system that we have to change. And so, we've taken our court's taken a leadership role of presenting the data to the judges. What can we do? What can we do? Because the first thing you have to do is be cognizant there's a problem. As much progress as we made, there's still problems here. And we're not trying to beat somebody up. We're trying to make change. That's what we want. There's no outing anybody here. And so I think what you see, what we're seeing now is we're now into a second phase of this with the university again, because there's other factors that affect these, prosecutor decisions, there's, and on all these myriad of things. And sometimes the data isn't as good as you want it to be because it doesn't, you're relying on things that aren't as helpful. And so you want to get your arms around that. But I think the relentless focus on not only what's the data show, but then how can we as a profession, as the courts, how can we do a better job? So when people walk away saying, I was treated fairly, this was fair. And you'll see that. I think it's so important for us from the ABA because after the Harvard decision, people are pulling back. They're worried. There's in places suing state bars, and saying this isn't part of Keller. There's been some decisions which aren't ideal. And so more than ever, we've got to step into this role. We have to lead. We have been leading, but we're going to have to up our game to lead more. And we have to lead with data and fairness, and then practical things. Lawyers, what can you do? Firms, what can you do? Courts, what can you do? And we've got some great experience that our Commission on Women does a great job of that, being very practical. You're seeing what in the Diversity Center, you're seeing the survey and some of the things they've gotten on. And so, but we've got to do more. And we can do more. And I think we'll be energized. We are not going to retreat from our position. And that's going to be, obviously, that was a commitment clearly espoused by President Smith, but one which I know I espouse, and Michelle Benke will follow espouse. Who's chaired our Race and Ethnic Diversity Profession Committee. And so I think we can really do some great things where the profession looks to us to say, here are the facts, and here's what we can do. Here's what we can change tomorrow. Okay.
Hmm.
We can't
No,
just
thank
we
you.
can't just advocate and yell. I mean, we can yell and scream and advocate, and I don't mean that in a bit sounds worse than it is. We can advocate and talk louder and talk all the time, but we have to do more than talk. We have to show and say,
Yeah.
here's the practical things you can do. So anyway, enough. I'm too long-winded. I'm sorry, but yes, thank
Oh,
you.
not at all. And that's, I would just, I can't say how much I appreciated hearing about the important work that you were doing on the commission in Missouri. And as you're saying, these are facts, right? Like just really understanding more deeply what are we dealing with. And I so appreciate your approach, which is we think we know, right? But we need to make sure that we know, and we have to listen, and we have to conduct the research and then utilize that to inform our approaches. And I just want to really lift up and appreciate your ongoing commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, especially as you just described in these times, right? And to be concrete and provide really accessible tools that law firms and individual lawyers can use in our daily practice. And so that's a great segue into my next question, which is, congratulations, you are the president of the American Bar Association for this bar year 24-25. And I know everyone would love to hear from you some of the key things that you're going to be focusing on. Clearly, it's maintaining the ABA's commitment and leadership on diversity, equity, inclusion issues. But I know there are a few other things that we'd love to hear more about, and then hear about how we can support you and get engaged.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're going to continue on with the important initiatives that have begun last year on democracy. The great focus there, the AI focus of artificial intelligence, the anti-Semitism and the Islamophobia projects are all going to continue. Those are really important projects, and we're going to continue doing those. I mean, I don't think we're going to be retreating from anything that I know of. If it is, you can tell me, but I'm not I'm not sure so far. But I think the key thing we're going to try to emphasize really is being the home for the profession. We like to talk about that we're the leaders of the profession, we're the voice of the profession, and we are. But if we want to continue to lead and be the voice, we have to be the home for the profession. And like most homes, we need to make changes sometimes. I laughed with people when I gave my speech in the House. There's home improvement projects that come. You got to think HGTV. We last year we finished we redid the kitchen counters. I learned about backsplashes. Okay, I didn't have any idea. I didn't know what the lights, the light bulbs, and all these things that we had to do different. And some of this I didn't quite understand how it worked. But when it all got put together, it made such a difference in how the house looked. And so we've got to renovate our ABA house to strive to meet lawyers where they are. We have a wonderful house, but the profession's changing quickly, and we have to change with it. And we got to answer, I think, key questions that I think lawyers ask now, which is, what's in it for me? Why should I join? I mean, we can say, oh, gee, it's your civic duty. We can use the reasons maybe all of us join. Everybody's not going to have their father saying, please go, please go join the association, or they're not going to have a senior partner someplace saying, oh, it's your duty. Those questions, we can keep saying it, but people aren't listening to us. And so we've got to really say, what's in it for me? Why should I join? And so I think we're really going to be focused on member engagement and member experience. Our goal is to provide multiple opportunities for every member of the profession to, number one, experience the great value and opportunity we offer, and number two, to forge connections that will last a lifetime. And they may be in a practice area, they may be in an affinity group, they may be in an advocacy group. We don't have to pick winners and losers. We want everybody to find some connection someplace. I think what probably that means we got to simplify the process by which members can be engaged. Right now, it's like 14 screens to join. We'll probably cut that down to give me your name and phone number and your credit card. And then simplify the process by which members can be engaged so that you don't have to understand our organization. I mean, you don't have to have a decoder ring. Okay, we don't need to send you the secret codes all the time, the launch codes. You want to get in and really relate to how lawyers think, because lawyers describe themselves much differently than our organization. They say, I'm a mass tort pharmaceutical person. I'm a Title IX lawyer. I'm involved in labor union negotiations. I'm involved in all these different things. And the great news is we have something in all those areas.
Yes.
sometimes we don't do as good a job of getting it in their hands and connecting it to it.
Yeah.
And so, we've got to do that. We're going to try to simplify our dues structure. I think, especially for new lawyers, I want them to have the opportunity to dabble, to find the place that best meets their needs. It may not be the first shot. I mean, it's like restaurants. I love a restaurant here in town. I go for breakfast every morning, but I went to a lot of different places before I happened upon this. And so it takes some time to develop a network, and you feel, gee, I'm really comfortable in civil rights and social justice, or I'm great in litigation, or I want to get involved in immigration. And so I think we got to have all those choices.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, I think we got to do, continue to stress leadership. Um, you're going to see, obviously, we want to lead, but I think we also want to develop leaders. And I have said many times, it's not that I get aggravated, but people say, well, the young lawyers are our future. No, that's really wrong. The young lawyers are now. Okay. I mean, the world's run by 30 to 55-year-olds. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And so we have to, one of the things we're going to do is we're putting young lawyer fellows in all our centers and commissions. You don't have to be a member for 25 years to get involved. You can get, first day you come on. I mean, I think micro volunteering is real critical. People coming out of law school, if they're at a big firm or another firm, they're working with somebody else, they're doing doc review, but
Mm-hmm.
they may be passionate about immigration. Well, I mean, then I want them to have a chance. Not, they don't have to make a lifetime commitment. Give us 3 weeks. Give us
Exactly.
a month. And we've got places that we can do that. And then I think the other thing is about the stories. Being a litigator, I mean, it's all about storytelling. I mean, we have
Absolutely.
a case is a story. It's not about I don't like it. My partners come in. So what do the documents say? Yeah, I want to know what the documents say, but the documents don't speak for themselves, despite that phrase that follows their way in court. Somebody has to tell the story. And so
Yep.
we've got, I think, great stories. And we don't tell them enough. We got stories of what people do, and like I told young lawyers, we got stories where I was chair of litigation and what we made. But I mean, I told the House a bit, our public interest work. I mean, people don't even know. I mean, we invested $2.65 million. And so the question I had is, okay, so what are we getting back for that? Well, I mean, we got $40 million in grants and got generous support from members, firms, and others. And so in the area of immigration, that grant money enables us to provide direct legal services to unaccompanied children and families seeking asylum, both in Texas and in Southern California. I mean, I was down there. It really changes lives. I mean, we're helping people.
Absolutely.
Really saw it and experienced. It's really eye-opening, and that's our story.
Mm-hmm.
We don't tell it enough. I mean, I tell people this, and they say, "Gee, I didn't know this. I didn't know this."
Right.
And one of the things I saw in one of our staff offices, there was behind her door was some kind of sign that said, "We make justice real." I thought, yeah, that's got it. Okay, that's got it. I mean,
Yeah.
we defend your liberty, pursuing justice, but we make justice real in everything we do, or we strive to. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think you just can't forget that. So anyway, that's again another long-winded answer, but you'll be here for hours with me talking.
Yeah, I love it. But I love it. And it's so helpful, right? To hear all of that, Bill. And again, I love this, experience that you've had with the ABA being your home, and that really making it easier for people to access ways to get involved, the myriad of different ways to get involved. And I'm a storyteller as well. I was once more of a litigator than I am today, but I joined the ABA right out of law school in 1997, right? And wrote an article for the Human Rights Magazine. Like when I was 1 year out of law school, I had no bit. I was like, what? Nobody wants to know what I'm doing, right? Like I'm just a little baby lawyer out here toiling at legal aid, trying to figure out which end is up, right? Like people want to know. And they were like, oh yeah, no, people want to know. And that is exactly what you're talking about, right? I found this community of people that I would never, ever have met any other way that really, I retain friendships all of these years later. And I think that's the other thing is that, we get so siloed out in our practice in the world. And you just described how the ABA provides an opportunity to cross those those silos and to try different things. And I totally want the name of the breakfast place in St. Louis for future reference. But thank you so much again for your service all these years to our communities. I think we don't say that enough. This is all work you do in your own personal volunteer time, Bill. And I just want to thank you and appreciate you for that and for the year ahead, because it's just going to increase in load. And so thank you, especially at this critical time, for the Bar Association and for the bar for taking on this important and critical role. So thank you.
Well, thanks. I mean, thanks for getting part of this, and thanks for what civil rights social justice does. And to people who are listening, I mean, yeah, we want you to be involved. I want to hear your voice. If you know, I want to hear when we're doing right, and want to hear what things we can improve as well. Because part of this is listening and hearing people, and you may have the best idea of the entire next 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we gotta hear, because it's one really powerful association, and we have lots of stories, but everybody's contribution makes such a difference for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Thank you.